Hello, my name is the Ankh. My company is created by the Ankh, and I'm one half of Ioni's creations. We do knit, crochet, dolls, all kinds of things. Today, I'm going to show you how to do fingerless mittens. Okay, the easiest kind of fingerless mittens that you could possibly do. Okay, in order to do the fingerless mittens, these are the things that you'll need. You'll need yarn. Don't have to have a lot because they don't really take a lot. A half a skein will do. Okay. You need a crochet hook because the method I'm going to show you is how to get your size by starting with a crochet hook. Okay. You need knitting needles. Okay. I love the circular needles. That's my favorite kind to use. Notice that the shaft of the needle is smaller than the crochet hook, you know, and that's for a reason. So make sure your crochet hook is a little thicker than the shaft of the knitting needles. Okay, if you're making them for somebody else, then you need a ruler. These are indispensable to me. These are little girls' butterfly hair clips. You use them to hold your pieces together as you sew them. And you also need, these are darning needles, or I don't know what you call them, but you know, they're thicker, they're blunter on the end than regular sewing needles, and they have the big eye in them. Some of them are crooked and some of them are straight. It doesn't make a difference. And you need that to sew your stuff up together. So those are the materials that you need to do this. Okay, the method that I was taught for getting the right size by my teacher and partner, Ioni, is by using a crochet needle. So even though you're doing actual knitting, okay, you can start with a crochet chain to get your measurement. So put your yarn on, and then you just begin to chain. And what you're doing is, with fingerless mittens, you want to make them so that they fit around the widest part of your hand, like right around the knuckle, right under the knuckle over here. So that's where you're going to measure. So you're going to make your chain so that it actually comes around that side.
Consumes me. My breath trips on my words.
Okay, once you have your chain the right size, measure it around to see if it goes around there. And it goes around there, plus you have a little bit more room, then you're good. Long enough to fit around your hand. The next step that you want to do is you want to remove the crochet hook, and instead you put your knitting needle hook into the loop instead. And the aim is to go all the way down the chain, sticking the needle into each hole and pulling up the yarn until you have a second loop and a third loop and all the way down the chain. So you just keep going with one needle, sticking it all the way in. And this is going to give you, this is going to get the yarn onto your knit needle, and it gives you the right size because you use your crochet chain in order to measure your hand. Now if you're doing something for someone else beside yourself, that's where the ruler comes in. You just take the chain and you measure it around their hand measurement. You have them measure themselves with a tape measure, or you measure them, and then you just measure them, and you make sure that you have the right measurement against the ruler that they need, and then you do the same procedure. You get everything on there. Now once you've gotten the whole chain converted to knit and on your needle, okay, the next step is that for this pattern of fingerless mittens, the design is going to be a series of ridges equally spaced all up and down the mitten. Okay, we're going to start with the seed stitch, okay, just around the cuff, and we're going to do a few rows of that, maybe about an inch or so of that. Okay, and then after that we're going to do the ridges. Okay, so the seed stitch is created by making stitches that are never the same. Okay, knits and purls, they're never the same. You never have two knits next to each other, and you never have a knit and a purl, two knits the same on the same row. So you want to always have alternating. Okay, so when we start with the first stitch, we might start with a knit. Okay, but then the second stitch is going to be a purl. The one after that is going to be a knit, and so on and so forth. So you just keep going, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, right on down to the end of the row. Okay, now you've got about an inch of seed stitch. Okay, and you can do more if you want to for your own design, but my gloves, I like about an inch at the bottom of it. Okay, the next step is that we're going to make some ridges. Okay, and ridges are really easy to make. You just do about 4 lines of knit, okay, and then you do 1 line of purl, and the purl will be raised above, you know, and that's what forms the ridge. So just real easy, just keep doing a knit stitch. I really just wanted to clarify, when I say you're doing 4 rows of knit, I mean when you look from the right side, you're going to see 4 rows of knit and then 1 row of purl to form the ridge. But you know, when you're actually doing it, you're going to knit 1 row, and then you turn, and then you purl 1 row, and then you knit 1 row, and then you purl 1 row in order to get the ridge. Alright, now once you look down at the right side of the work, and you have your seed stitch on the bottom, and then you have about 4 rows of knit stitch like this, now it's time to make the ridge. And all you do is you just purl the next row. gonna do a few and then turn it around so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so if you look and see, there's my seed on the bottom, there's my 4 knits, and then now I'm forming a ridge by putting pearls on top of that. And that's how you make a ridge. Do about 4 rows of knit, and then you have your row of pearl, and then you just make those for as many times as it takes it for the full glove to come up to about between 6.5 to 7 inches. I like to make mine about 7 inches because I like the glove to come up by the knuckle, come up over the knuckle. Okay, so just keep going, making more ridges. Okay, now what we have is the whole piece is made. I got the seed stitch down at the bottom. I have a bunch of ridges, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 1 ridge at the top. So I have 6 sections that are mostly made out of knit with a ridge. How I like to finish things off is I like to make 1 more row of pearl on the top so that my top ridge will be extra thick, and then I like to bind off in pearl. So I'll do a few. So here I have a little thicker row of ridge than I have over here because I'm doing more pearls. And when I bind off, I'm going to do that in pearl too. So there's going to be this extra thick ridge of pearls at the top. Okay, and here's a little bit of the bind off. You know, you pearl, and you pearl a second one, and lift that first loop over, pearl again, lift the loop over, pearl again, lift the loop over, and so on till you end up at the end of the row and you don't have anything else left on your bind off stitch. Okay, and now there's only 1 loop left, so we take the scissors, cut it off, and tie it off. Okay, so now at this point you have a square with your seed at the bottom, you have your ridges going up at the top, and you have this thicker ridge that I created by doing 2 pearl rows and binding off in pearl. Okay, so now you just want to fold it in half. It should fit over your hand if it's for you. Okay, and if not, then it should fit the person according to the measurements that you gave. So what you want to do now is you want to match up the ridges, and you want to clip this all together from top to bottom. I like to clip it like every other ridge or so, because we're going to sew it and you want the ridges to kind of line up. Okay, so everything's clipped now. Now you've got to leave a thumb hole, and the thumb hole should be, if you're making this sort of short wristlet, it should be sort of from the wrist to the thumb should be about 3 inches or so. So if you measure 3 inches, then right about there where this ribbing is, we can start. That can be the end of the beginning of the thumb hole. And then you got to give it about 1.5 inches. So right about to the next ridgelet, that's enough for your thumb to stick through. So then you're going to sew along this line, and you're going to sew along this line and leave that little hole open for your thumb. Okay, so you take one of your yarn needles, take a piece of yarn that's long enough, and then you just thread the needle and you begin to sew it. I like to sew a loop going across the bottom like about twice, because all the places where it's at the end of where you're sewing at, those are the most vulnerable places where the person puts the glove on and then it could rip. So I like to go over twice at the end of each opening. And then once I've gone over twice and reinforced it, then after that I'm just going to sew in where it doesn't show so much. I like to catch 2 threads at the end, so it's nice and strong. Okay, so when I get to the beginning of the thumb hole from the bottom, I'm going to go around twice again just to reinforce it so it doesn't easily come apart every time the person wears it. Okay, now when I get to that part, I don't like to cut it, so I just sew along the inside of one side. Okay, when I get to the end, I went around twice to reinforce it, so both sides are reinforced, and then I start sewing in a way that's hidden again. reached the end, so I'm gonna go around twice again, and then I'm gonna finish it off. Put it in. Cut that in, and then I tie a knot. Go back and also secure the other end. I like to triple knot it just in case I cut it too close. It's still secure. Can you see it? Now I have my fingerless glove. Okay. And of course, it wouldn't be me if I didn't put cowrie shells on them. So you can decorate it any way that you want to. Put cowrie shells on it, or any other type of decoration. And that's how you make fingerless gloves. Okay, once again, my name is Ankh from Ioni's Creations, and my half of it is created by Ankh. And I hope you enjoyed the tutorial on how to make fingerless gloves. We're probably going to be coming up with a lot more tutorials in the future, but my partner Ioni, she's the master teacher, so she'll be the one that's doing it. She knows how to make dolls. She knows a lot of techniques to make things very, very simple and easy and fun. For crafting, sewing, crocheting, knitting, you know, she just knows it all and she does it all. So come to Ioni's Creations, and if you like these fingerless gloves, they're only $15 at our Etsy shop. And thank you very much. This has been from the Handmade Collective.